Life is moving faster and faster every day with no signs of slowing down. School, work, and responsibilities pile up, which makes us feel like we don't have time for anything besides doom scrolling. Your once beloved hobby of sitting down with some friends to game or enjoying a new game to explore seems to be in the past. I think it can be different and without magically becoming rich or famous. This begs the question, how do we game when we have no time? I think I found 3 tactics that you could implement today to help you play more games. Also, make sure to stick around for the last one. It's a hard pill to swallow, but probably the most important thing I mentioned on this list. Confucius said, "Study the past to define the future." We are going to briefly talk about how gaming was back in the day in hopes of understanding how we got in this position and how to get out of it. My gaming career started relatively early. My first memories of gaming were on my N64 playing Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. I was absolutely terrible at this game, had no idea what I was doing nor why I was doing it. I distinctly remember crashing into some rocks like an NPC, but for some reason, I was still drawn to coming back and playing more games.
It's me, Mario!
Super Mario 64 is one of the first games I really played. Like, I didn't just mindlessly press buttons with hopes of progressing to the end. I specifically remember the level where you race the penguin down the slope. It was the most intense level my brain could comprehend at the time. I had to manage racing this penguin, who I for some reason treated as my greatest rival, while also trying not to fall off the side of the slope. This is one of many memories I had playing video games. And there are so many more games I could mention. Ocarina of Time, Super Smash Bros., and Pokemon Snap, just to mention a few. These are the years I can confidently say are when my favorite hobby was born. Now, there are a lot of things that the games we played in the past have in common. They're tied to emotions and mostly happy ones. In recent memory, I tried playing older games to relive those emotions, but it never quite brought me back like I wish it would. I think it's easy to look back at those games with rose-tinted glasses and think, were games really that much better back then? I would argue yes, but also no. They had more soul. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds of the current state of the gaming industry, but let's just say it sucks. Companies like Ubisoft and Bethesda are in the hot seat right now after some very poor and underperforming releases. Game developers care way too much about lining their pockets than providing their consumers with experiences. It feels like the days of passion projects are gone and we're left with soulless, copy-paste, generic, and overpriced games that are not worth our money. But I digress. So now that we know how we got here, let's see how we're gonna get to where we want to go. How do we find more time to play games? With so many things in life fighting for our time and attention, it's become so easy for us to go into autopilot and let the most mindless brain rot fill our heads. To fight back, I'd like to introduce you all to something called intentionality. One thing we can never get back is our time, and we shouldn't fill our time with things that genuinely don't matter. Open up your phone and look at your screen time right now. If you have a number over 2 hours, then you have extra time in your day to put towards something else. In this case, your once favorite hobby. Carve out some time to play just as you would for the gym or for anything else that you would prioritize in your life. If it's something you care about, then it deserves the level of attention as other important things in your life. Once you've done this, try to go into that session with a goal in mind. For example, let's say you're playing Elden Ring. This game is hard to make progress in when you don't have much time to play it. Eventually, it becomes too hard and you default to easier things like sitting on your phone. Set a goal and make it stupidly simple. So when you achieve it, you start a positive feedback loop in your head. So maybe this would look like farming for a specific weapon, or beating a lesser boss in the area, or even that you're going to learn to fight the boss that you're stuck on with the goal of learning their moveset completely. A goal in mind, especially one self-set, will increase your desire to play and feeling of achievement greatly. Alright, let me guess. Your Steam library is longer than your will to live. We've been constantly bombarded with flash, holidays, winter, spring, summer sales since the beginning of time. You think, oh, I've heard of this game, it looks pretty cool, only to have it gather dust while you play nothing. This is a very common occurrence and can be attributed in some part to something called decision paralysis. This condition happens when someone is unable to make a decision due to being overwhelmed by all the decisions in front of them, usually caused by fear of making the wrong one. Take the guesswork out of it. I want you to go through your library and narrow it down to 3 games for a rotation. These games can be selected upon to fill any role or vibe of the moment. The first game is for when you want to be challenged. Obviously, I recommend anything from the FromSoft games or even the Resident Evil games on the highest difficulties. They can be pretty tough. Some honorable mentions are the Cuphead game for a more retro vibe, or some roguelikes like Hades or Risk of Rain. The second game can be one for being creative. Think Terraria, Minecraft, or Satisfactory. These games are when you're feeling particularly tired. You don't necessarily have to have a goal in any of these games. You can kind of just vibe in another world for a bit, throw on some lo-fi or even a podcast. The last game is a good story or comfort game. This is your old reliable, your fastball, your bread and butter. I've had some of the most memorable experiences gaming while playing story games. I highly recommend the BioShock series, Mass Effect series, God of War series, honestly any series that interests you enough to want to learn about the lore. The beauty of some of these styles of games is the game doesn't end when you put the controller down. I remember after beating BioShock Infinite, for instance, I was obsessed with the ending and went down many rabbit holes of theories and explanations. A really important thing to keep in mind is to really take your time and research some of these games before diving into them. Remember, we're trying to be more intentional with what little time we have. No sense in wasting it on a game that won't be worth it and that you won't enjoy. So, you're gonna hate me for this last one. No one wants to do this. I'm going to tell you to turn the difficulty down. For some reason, we take it as a hit to our manhood to turn the difficulty down, and in many instances, it ends up making the game so much less enjoyable. I know some people who purposefully turn the difficulty to the max setting for games that don't really require it. Look guy, play the game however you want, and if that means playing on Nightmare Ballsack difficulty, then go for it. But I'm here, personally, giving you permission to play the game on whatever difficulty you want. Hell, turn it down to Super Weenie Head Jr. and be proud of it. By doing this, you're tricking your brain to feeling a sense of progression. The best part about this is you can turn the difficulty up if you're feeling like it's become too easy. The whole point of playing video games is to engage in some escapism and enjoyment. It doesn't have to be hard. It's your time and you should take control of it. Things don't have to be the way that they are forever. I highly recommend engaging your prefrontal cortex a little and putting some intentionality back into your hobbies. Having hobbies is positively tied to a better state of mental health. So with just a little bit more effort, you can have time for your favorite hobby again while also handling your ever-piling list of responsibilities. Trust me, I understand life gets hard for everyone. If you want to hear about a game that teaches you how to get through life and persevere a little more, click this video right here. Other than that, I thank you all for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.